Alright then, hello everyone and welcome to the 13th round of the NEF1 Championship. Unlucky 13th for some, maybe, who knows. We are here for the Singapore Grand Prix for the, I believe it's the 4th time in NEF1 we are running Singapore. And it is a revised layout on this game, which is... it worked quite well last season, if I'm not mistaken. Sadly, that was the race that I was incredibly ill and had to cut the stream short because of. But it's going to be interesting seeing how this one ensues. We have a comment from Matty MC commenting on the risk of rain, dry qualifying, and potential rain for the race. So that is going to spice things up quite a little bit. We are going to be doing something special for this qualifying session that we haven't done ever in any F1 before. Since it is a smaller grid than we're used to, only 13 people sadly making it for this one, we are going to be cutting Q1 short. So what is going to happen now? Everything's going to go relatively quickly. No one's going to be eliminated. Everyone has to set a time within the first 8 minutes of the session. So before the clock strikes 10, everyone's got to have a time on the board, then go into the pits and retire, basically cutting the Q1 session short. Then, once we're into Q2, Q3, it'll be procedures as normal, seeing how cars will be eliminated, but Q1 is just going to be a procession to get everyone through. A couple of people out on intermediate tires is a bit risky, get penalized if you cause an incident whilst on a medium tire or holding anyone up. We'll see how it all goes. Let's get the track map and everything up. Q1, Q2 and Q3 then for this weekend. We are coming up to a triple header worth of sprint races, but we'll have a look at that further in a little bit of time. Also, thankfully, I've been able to get the YouTube streams back on board. So if you're joining us on YouTube, hello and welcome to newer F1 Esports. We are heading into the clutch time of the season, and Undercheck is catching the championship leaders at a rapid pace. Talking about the man of the hour, out in P3 at the moment on a set of soft tires, just needs to get a lap on the board. Hybrid's the only one still in the pits, reckon he's going to come out relatively soon, needs to get that time on, man. Can also add, if there was to be any problem with this format for any type of reason, if there's a major problem, then it'll go to a lobby restart and a short qualifying session followed by a 50% race. But we're hoping not to have any issues whatsoever. Pay attention to the stream, everyone driving, and if there's any problem, I will announce it ahead of time. Everyone then out on intermediate, soft, or mediums. Quite a couple of people opting for the intermediates for some reason. So this isn't really going to tell us much. People aren't going to be pushing because they have a deadline to get a lap in. That's in about 4.5 minutes time. That's when all the laps have to be set. People then have a chance to do an in-lap and retire. So everything's going to be happening rather quickly. Then we don't need a tire graph at the moment. Spenclose heading through Sector 2 at the moment. An incredibly tight and twisty Sector 2. But incredibly rewarding to get right. Especially the left-hander coming up. Easy to outbrake yourself. Wide a couple of different lines and then wide on the exit usually, especially when you're on a clutch lap. And now it's a short straight following this 90-degree right-hander, and then a long straight now. Part of the revised layout, long straight down to a right-left chicane. Basically end off the lap here. I quite missed the narrow twisty bit, but that has been removed for whatever reason, because F1 doesn't fancy that drivers need corners to tackle anymore, just straight after straight. No larks there, fastest lap of the session, and Spenclose goes a couple of attempts slower. We're not really going to find out too much in this session. Q2 is going to be much more informative, and obviously that's when people are going to start being eliminated. The bottom 3, P13, 12 and 11, all going to go out in Q2. No one's going to be eliminated in Q1. On with Undercheck then. JV8 looks to be going slow on a set of intermediate tires. What's going on? And just going slow on Intus. So here we go then, Squidge with a 140.120, JV8 with a 153. And Matty fastest out of anyone, ironically, speaking to him earlier this session with a 1:31.427. No one really going for the competitive lap times, but Matty was not feeling himself out of this race due to his pace, or maybe lack thereof, heading into this weekend. Hybrid's almost drifting it round Sector 2. So almost all drivers have gotten a lap on the board as of yet. Hybrid's the only one remaining, was the last one out. No Larks is in the pit lane. I can imagine now we're going to start seeing those retirements. All the laps have to be set in 2 minutes time. But everyone will have a lap on the board soon. So what we're doing at the moment is just expediting a session that has no real impact on anything. So Hybrid would have won 31.379 then. People slowest are the people on the intermediate tires. There's a risk going out on that intro. I don't know if the 107% rule will come into play. I'm hoping it won't. The Hybrid goes faster than Matty on the intermediate tires. Bit informative, we'll wait and see. But people are now starting to retire and come into the pit lane. Still no retirements on track allowed. Has to be on the pit or inside the pit lane for everyone. Everyone now coming into the pit lane early here. So this is just going to expedite this session a little bit. Just get rid of an unnecessary 10 minutes of runtime and just help people along. Worth pointing out as well, people are facing penalties if they fail to comply. But at the moment it's looking good. Hybrid then, last driver out on track, needs to get back into the pits on this attempt. Or on this lap, I should say. To be fair, it is an attempt getting back into the pit lane around this track. Actually very easy to just plain out miss the pit lane going over the curbs a little bit. It's a narrow pit entry here, as you can see. Incredibly narrow corner, and you usually see a little bit of contact with the wall in the race because someone's stressing it in. So there we go, 2 people, former teammates, still in this session. Hybrid's just now coming into his box. Feel free to retire whenever you want, and we can draw Q1 to a close. For what might be the least informative session in NEF1 history. I'm willing to bet it is the least informative session in NEF1 history, actually. Hybrid being wheeled back into his garage. And having retired from the session, and that is the top 13 for you in Q1. We have no information whatsoever. It's a big-ass margin between Matty and Nolarks and different tire compounds as well, but it's close between Hybrid and Matty for P1. That was a bit of entertainment for you, but apart from that, nothing really to tell, and we're going straight into Q2 here for some actual competitive running. Well done to all the drivers for executing that as well. Also, a big hello to anyone currently watching. Hopefully you're enjoying the proceedings as they are at the moment. It's soon going to start getting more interesting with the beginning of Q2 then. But everyone thankfully through, no 100% rule, 107% rule in effect, and we'll be able to get going in just a moment for Q2 then. Everything working exactly as it should, and now competitive running will begin. P11, 12 and 13 are all going to be eliminated in 15 minutes time to give us the top 10 for the Q3 shootout. 12 minutes worth of running to determine who will be on pole position, but first 15 minutes to determine who gets into that top 10 shootout. And a lot of people coming out already then. Jamar, Ondercheck, No Larks, JV8, Djokovic holding station, Iwat holding station. Spenklos already out on track along with his teammate who is leading the pack. Two Williams always like to get out early here. And I do reckon in this session everyone is going to be opting for the soft tires, maybe apart from Undercheck, who got through well and cleanly on the mediums last week out in Q2, mind you, and that was a set of worn medium tires. So really impressive performance from Undercheck in Japan then. Might be a bit tricky to do that around this circuit, we'll wait and see. Squidge at the moment heading through Sector 2, Wigan following him in Sector 1. So basically every single car out on track apart from Hybrid opting to wait the pits for a little bit longer. Might want to come out now though if he wants that clear piece of road ahead of him. Still not seeing any movement down in that Aston Martin garage. Squidge is coming up to the end of his outlap then. He's being closely followed by his teammate and then the two Haas and a Red Bull and a AlphaTauri, both the AlphaTauris. So here we go then. Squidge 2017 comes across line, starts his flying lap, throwing his car into turn 1. It's usually the quickest way to go. Not really abusing the track limits on turn 3 as you can do. They have put a little sausage curve there though, making it a bit harder. Now into turn 5, sweeping right-hander, get close to the wall on the exit. That's nice and tidy that from Squidge 2017. And onto the sweeping or 90-degree left-hander. That is turn 7 around here. Nice and tidy. Bit on the curb, maybe getting stuck on that curb a little bit. Race curbs around here, and this is a track that did really use to benefit controller players, not as much anymore, but it does allow the controller players to just ride those curbs a little bit more. So watch the two Alpine first and foremost. See if they're going to be able to extract some pace around this place. Squidge then decent second sector as well, first to set a time. Ooh, and that is close to the track limits for Squidge 2017, isn't it? Right on them. Now a little bit of a run. This really should be a DRS straight in my opinion. Down to the new chicane. Tight right-hander followed by a sweeping left-hander, and now these two very tricky double left-handed corners finish off the lap, and it's a 130.669. What's his teammate going to be able to do? Comes across the line, goes faster by about a tenth and a half. Haas of JV8 comes across the line 132.942. Will need to improve a bit. Darren 131.585. Little drips in the Haas for this weekend. 132.312, and followed by Matty on 130.949. Promising pace that from Matty. Undercheck, will he go fast out of anyone? Yes, he will. And by a margin 29.876. For the championship, hoping Undercheck now well and truly in contention after a strong result in Japan. Djokovic might be the only man able to stop him. He's on a set of medium tires. What's Undercheck on? Soft tires. What is Djokovic's pace going to be around this Singapore circuit? Needs to get inside the top 10. That is the only thing you have to do, and he does so into P5, 130.791. Almost a full second slower than Undercheck, but on the medium tires versus the softs. As then for Hybrid, just beginning his lap now. I actually timed that to perfection. Splendid work there from Hybrid 472K. Just looked to have been holding his gear shifts a little bit, and he has given up on this attempt. Hybrid then, not gonna get a good run in his first go. So I have a feeling this is going to be a very, very divided session. Everyone's going to be going out for two relatively straightforward runs. I don't know if Hybrid's going to come in at the end of this one and go again, or if he's going to try for another lap on this attempt. At the moment, it's unchecked from Jamar, from Spenklo, Squidge, and Djokovic to your top 5. Matty's just outside that, with Wigan, What's Darren, and Nolarks making it through. Little Drips, JV8, and Hybrid at the moment would be out of this session if it ended now. And I must say, that combination of the yellow and neon green helmet of iWatts along with the Alpines, a combination that's actually really growing on me. It's a massive color clash, but it actually looks really good. I think Matty switched over to using his pink helmet from last week full time now as well, if I'm not mistaken. As Hybrids began a second lap, but it's already been invalidated after just a couple of corners. This is a problem for Hybrid now, because that is first run well and truly over. No time on the board, and it leaves him less time for a second run later on. So Hybrid messing up his run plan here a little bit, maybe just pushing a bit too hard on his second attempt. And that might well cost him. We'll wait and see. Nolarks is out on track still. Coming into the pit lane now, I'm relatively certain. Darren's coming out early. 7.5 minutes to go. He's going to have time for 2 runs then. It's Darren style if this goes to plan. Also, I'm happy to announce that work for Season 7 is now well and truly starting to begin. It's going to start happening a bit over this week, especially next week. The game's coming out in not a long time. Make sure you pre-order it. It actually looks really good, the game this season, putting more of an emphasis on strategic racing more than the hard wheel-to-wheel racing that's been this game. Less battery management, looks like, but more options to what you can do with it, but a lot more tire and engine management. Which, as someone who's just a passionate F1 fan, it's a massive part of sport. You can't just race these cars, you have to think about it. And it looks like they're implementing that a little bit more into the game, which is going to be good to see. It's going to be really good to see. So hopefully it's going to be a good year for league racing as well. Let's hope we don't have the weird bugs that we had in this game and the last game and the game before that. God, I miss F1 22. Or F1 20, sorry. F1 22, I do kind of miss that game as well. I'm probably relatively alone with that opinion. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Here we go then, Darren Style is beginning his second quick lap of the session then. 1:31.585, not a long way to go to iWatts, just a couple of hundredths of a second. About 2 temps up to his teammate Wigan71. But those 2 temps have been found immediately in the fast sector. Right in the cab aggressively there, coming out of turn 5. And a little bit of wheel spin coming out of 6. Ooh, that looked close to the wall. Darren Stalver absolutely pitch perfect, but just getting another little bit of wheel spin on. It's not been a perfect lap this, but he is improving. But his car, it looks so twitchy, that car, and that is going to be a problem for him in the race. If his car keeps acting up like this, that is going to be 100% an issue for him during the Grand Prix that is come. He's going to struggle with that, I'm relatively certain. Here we go then, round the final corner. Is it going to improve? Yes, he does, by more than half a second actually. And it's 1:31 flat, just behind Matty on a 1:30.949. Promising pace. Little Drips now coming up to the line as well. He's improving by a massive amount as well. And he goes up at a P8. He forces Nolarks down into the elimination zone. Little Drips then with a good show of pace as well. What is JV8 going to be able to do? He's not going to be able to equal it. 1:31.677. And Nolarks now. It needs to get a decent lap in Iwatts and Wigan in the danger zone. No larks now then into the ever tricky sector 2 bit, so Red Bull getting out of the way nicely there. Can still cause a distraction, but can't cause any dirty air or anything. Worth mentioning as well, dirty air is going to be a massive factor in next game as well. It's going to decrease your amount of grip that you have in the car with a lot more than it has previously, so that's also going to be something to watch out for. Especially in a qualifying session like this, you can't really ride too close behind or you will feel the effects of it. Now then, no larks through the final couple of corners into the last sweeping left-hander and across the line. Is it going to be good enough? Yes it is, 130.785 and goes out of Djokovic. Djokovic might genuinely have to come out again here. To save himself from elimination. We'll have to wait and see. If it's a decent chance, should definitely come out to cover himself if nothing else. Wigan 71 in P10 now. Iwatts is out of qualifying as things stand. Wigan now with a chance to put a bit more pressure on little drips. That 31 is a decent lap, but will it be good enough to get him through? Here we go then, into the final sector. Wigan's improving, but sounds to be struggling a little bit. I do know there's a massive audio bug on the F1 games, but it doesn't really sound like that. Sounds like he's just holding his upshifts a little bit too much. And there we go, cross line for Wigan, and he does go up into the top 10, just at little drips. Putting the pressure on the Haas driver. 131 flat, very close between the two teammates, only 5 thousandths of a second. Djokovic is out. Djokovic is out of pit lane, he's going to go again. Matty's going to go again. Iwatts is going to go again, and both the Haas cars needs to get out there now if they want a chance to go again, or Haas is out, and they've only got a couple of seconds to do it. Now I think we can count then both Little Drips and JV8 out of qualifying here. And with that timer on, we can as well. Not enough time for, I believe that's Little Drips maybe. No, that's JV8 coming out of pit lane. Not going to be able to make it around in time. Haas is out. And now only Iwatts needs to save himself from elimination. It's between Wigan and Iwatts then. Quite a couple of people retiring from this session. Iwatts just holding his battery a little bit, trying to get a perfect run coming out of the final corners and no traffic ahead of him whatsoever. It's clutch time for Iwatts. Ondrechek's retired from the session as well. All the top 4. Djokovic won't have to go again, safe from elimination. As JV8 has retired from this session after an incident coming into the final, or into the first couple of corners. So here we go then. Is it going to be Iwatts or is it going to be Wigan? Is Wigan actually going to be able to get another lap in here? Yes, he is. Might actually be able to push his teammate out of qualifying still. Wait and see. Iwatts not improving on his first sector. Now then, sweeping left-hander, tricky corner. This used to be an absolutely awful chicane that I somewhat wish they'd bring back, actually. Interesting little corner. It's absolutely awful, but it was fun watching. Here we go. Through the sharpest corner of the track, that left-handed hairpin, and now down the longest straight of the track, DRS zone. Second longest, sorry. And here we go then. Now, little left-handed kink to round off sector 3. A couple of more corners to go. Iwatts or Wigan, what is going to be the final order for Sector 3? For Q3, we'll see. Iwatts fails to improve. Improves, but not by enough. And that is Little Drips, Iwatts, and JV8 out of qualifying here. Wigan just survives by a couple of hundredths of a second, 200ths and a thousandth to be exact. And it's a double Red Bull Q3 here in Singapore. Undertech took the flag, followed by Matty and Jamar. Matty getting very close to the time set by Undertech earlier on. Djokovic was still awaiting his true pace on that soft tire, not showing his hand yet. Hybrid, Darren and Wigan also make it through. There we go. Very decent session that from Matty, actually. A lap that came a bit out of nowhere. Maybe it was downplaying his pace a little bit, because that is incredibly close to Undercheck still. 33 thousandths of a second. Then there's a massive gap down to Jamar, Spenklos and Squidge. The entirety of the top 10 separated by about 1.1 seconds. Very close that as well between Little Drips and Wigan. Could have been either, but this time Wigan 71 prevailed into Q3 and a chance still at pole position. Unlikely, but who knows. A lot of people speeding in the pit lane. Nothing significant going on. As here we go then, 12 minutes of qualifying to go. Undercheck looking like the favourite for pole position so far, but Matty is challenging Djokovic. We don't yet know his pace on the soft tyres. And we have a Red Bull of Wigan 71 coming out on the left hand side of your screen. The mechanics are getting ready to release the number 71 Red Bull. Movement down at Mercedes as well as Undercheck coming out of the pit lane. And movement down at Ferrari and Red Bull again. That's Djokovic and Darren style. A lot of stuff going on, man. A lot of people are sure to be coming out straight out the bat. So here we go, Matty out first, then followed by Williams off, I would imagine that's Squidge. Yes it is. He is in a lovely little sandwich. Now the sandwich has been broken up because Nolux did decide to go past him on the straight. So Mercedes going slowly, just letting people by. Djokovic and Undercheck together on track. The two championship protagonists at the moment, as Nasio is away for this week, and yet another one. If all falls in line for Undercheck tonight, he could find himself in the lead of the championship. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. Undercheck has won every single race since he re-emerged in NEF1, and he's placed himself well and truly in contention for what could be, wouldn't be a completely perfect season, but it could be a perfect season for him if he went on to win every single race remaining. But 6 races still to go. If he was to do that, I'm sure he would be setting a record that is never going to be broken in NEF1 as well. So already now broken the record for the most NEF1 wins in a row, beating out Matty's record from Season 2. No larks then, here we go. Heading into turn 1, started his lap ahead of Matty. No, he actually didn't. Here we go then, Matty, one of the protagonists then for pole position on this track. Wasn't expecting to say that about an hour ago when I was speaking to him. But then, decent sector 1 time, 27.121. What's the equivalent from Squidge going to be? Bit quicker. So here we go then, through sector 2. This is where you can make or break a lap really. A technical bit, and especially this corner, needs to throw the car in there with so much confidence. Carry that confidence all the way through this tight and twisty bit. Almost Monaco like this, and into the hairpin. Not quite fast gear, but not far away from. Early upshifts, getting on the power early, and now down into the 90-degree right-hander. It's a lot of 90-degree corners around this place. Most of them, to be precise. Now into the last proper braking zone. Sweeping right-hander followed by sweeping left-hander now into the last 2 corners. Just to dabble on the brakes, downshift, and to finish out the lap, it's going to be a 1:30.294. Now then, what is Squidge going to be able to do? Is it going to beat that? Yes, he is, by more than half a second actually. And goes on provisional pole position. Where is Undercheck out on track? It's out in P6. Is he going to be able to do anything about that? Has a couple of more seconds to do so around the final corners. What is he going to be able to do? Is he going to beat it? Yes, he is, by 0.2 of a second. Undercheck goes on provisional P1. Djokovic does not beat him. 29.693. Spenclose, only driver was still awaiting a lap from the first run. I believe he invalidated his first lap, and he's not going to make anything of this one. Unless he broke really early into that corner. Can't really tell at the moment. I genuinely can't tell. Which is a bit awkward. This is one of the trickier tracks with the gaps. They're not massive. 108.216. Surely too far back to make anything of this lap. You never know. This is incredibly awkward. I'm not meaning this is an insult to Spenclose, but it is so hard judging around this track. Not a competitive lap, no, and going into the pit lane. It is so hard to judge at Singapore if someone's on an in lap or a fast lap. Hair fine margins, really. Spenclose into the pit lane then. As hybrids out there through sector 2 now into sector 3, basically just a long straight sector 3 with a couple of little turns in there just for fun. F1's starting to look more and more like NASCAR every single year. Oh, might have gone a bit wider hybrid. Not going to do anything with that lap anyways. It's 1:31.494, but that was a weird bit of desync. And Spenclose now the only driver yet to have set a time. But we're looking at this gap for the time being. Undercheck and Djokovic separated by a 10th and a half, followed by Squidge on a 29.766. Not far off the back of Djokovic. Matty then a little bit of a gap down as well. Down to P4 to 1:30.294. Closely followed by his teammate Jamar, Wigan, Darren and Hybrid. Close between Wigan and Darren as well. The two are pushing each other. Yeah, the two really are pushing each other this season ever since they became teammates. And Red Bull have consistently begun to pick up those necessary points. So Wigan on an upswing of form now in the second half of the season. Darren as well. Matty now heading out on an outlap relatively early, so Sondrachek here. Curiously early, maybe fueled for 2 laps. So then everyone on an outlap then, apart from Darren and Hybrid, still waiting in the pit lane. No movement as of yet. Here we go then, Matty on his second flyer in the session then, 1:30.294 is his personal best. Needs to gain half a second in order to gain a position into the top 3 here. Keep in mind, they may well improve on their laps as well. We'll be following Djokovic closely whenever he gets a... whenever he starts a flying lap. Ondrzejczyk has already started flying lap with 3 minutes to go. And I'm beginning to see why, because I think that spots of rain starting to appear on track. Yes, it is, and that is going to ruin things incredibly quickly. And yeah, look, Matt is already sliding through Sector 2, and I reckon that's qualifying over. That is precisely why people started to come out early. They know this rain was coming. And that's qualifying session over, ladies and gentlemen. No one's going to be improving because the rain's coming down at rapid pace. Wow, that's a sudden end to a qualifying session if I've ever seen one. Matt is not improving at all. Given up on this lap as well by the look of things. Yellow flags are out. No Lux is his full second down. Djokovic has spun as well. Ondrzejczyk 7 seconds down. Yeah, lads, that's the end of qualifying here. Nothing else is going to happen in this session. No one's going to switch positions. Hence, the weird run plan, in my opinion, of Ondrzejczyk and Matty especially coming out that early. They were trying to beat the rain, just unable to. But that's why, when you don't have the information, things look a bit fun. But that escalated really quickly. Now, we are probably then coming up to a wet Grand Prix. There was a chance of rain in the Grand Prix, but if it comes down in qualifying, we'll wait and see how it all ensues. But Ondrzejczyk then is going to start the Grand Prix on pole position, followed by Djokovic in P2 and Squidge in P3. Nothing's going to change that now. Followed by Matty and Nolarks in P4 and P5, and you can just look in the pit lane how wet that track is. Happening incredibly quickly. Spenklos now struggling to make it. Ooh, taps the wall there, Spenklos. Just struggling to make it around the track. He started a flying lap incredibly late, and Spenklos with a disaster run here in Q3. Then it's going to be starting in P10. And then that just shows how crucial a first run can be to get a proper banker lap in. Spenklos wasn't able to do that, and he's paid for it. P10 for the Williams driver, while his teammate's up in P3, and it looked like Spenklos had the pace advantage over his teammate heading into this weekend. You can just see how twitchy that Williams is on the slick tires in on a track that looks wet. Definite intermediate conditions here in Singapore for the time being. Got a couple of more seconds to go in this session now. Qualifying has concluded in a very, very, I'd say, disappointing way. Getting interesting reports here as well. JMO's 4 attempts up in the first sector alone. Then 2 corners into sector 2. He'd lost all that time. Interesting stuff indeed, and yeah, just look at the track conditions out in Sector 1 at the moment. It's almost wet conditions. So then, that is a weird end to qualifying there. But Ondrzejczyk takes pole position away from Djokovic, and Squidge Ondrzejczyk places himself in a beautiful position to snatch the championship lead away from Djokovic and Nasi on this weekend. Matty in P4, followed by Nolarks in P5. It's the AlphaTauri duo, battling Williams closely in the Constructors' battle. Jamar in P6, followed by Wigan, Darren, Hybrid, and Spenklos to round off this session in a very, very weird way. Meanwhile, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break until we start the race. A little more or less than 5 minutes. So everyone just sit back. The race is going to start relatively soon. We're going to get a feel for the track conditions. This is going to be a dry start for the Grand Prix, if nothing else, thankfully for all the drivers. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. With the action when the Grand Prix starts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here for 31 laps worth of racing around the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. So then, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Singapore Grand Prix here in NEF1. Round 13 of the championship is taking place, and the ready up has been given by the admins to get this race restarted, or to get this race started, should say, to get the session restarted. So this is going to be an interesting one, really. On the check on pole position then from Djokovic. The second run massively interrupted by the appearance of the rain at the end of the session there with a couple of minutes to go. Everyone was trying to beat it, no one managed to. And it did bring the session to an early close. On the check, snatching pole away from Djokovic by about a tenth and a half then. Well, it's an interesting one, really. It's an interesting one. We are expecting maybe a little bit of rain in the Grand Prix that is come as well. Formation lap about to get underway here. So then, Ondrechek, Djokovic, Squidge and Matty MC16. No Larks followed by Jamar, Wigan and Darren. Hybrid in P9 followed by Spenclose in P10. Lil Drips in P11 followed by iWatts and JV8. A lot of people opting for the hard tyres. Did they know that rain might be coming a bit later on in this session? We'll wait and see. Ondrechek as well opting for the hards. Djokovic on the medium. Same strategy they went for last week out, basically in Japan. Djokovic just going a little bit softer, Ondrechek going on the harder compound tyre. And it did work for him at that turn. But Djokovic did have the pace advantage in Japan. Could have won that race if it wasn't for a safety car and a couple of mistakes here and there. But then Ondrechek starting the race on the hard tyres could be an interesting one. Not as easy to overtake here as it is around other tracks. Japan didn't prove to be much of a challenge for overtaking as you might have thought it should be. At the moment, dry throughout. But I'm expecting a couple of drops of rain maybe in the Grand Prix. We'll wait and see. Christina the Gamer cheering on Matty MC16 again. Hello Christina, hope you're doing well. Matty MC qualifying in P4 for this Grand Prix. Was the first one to really be affected by the rain heading over the Anderson Bridge. It just went loose for him. No Larks in P5. Split strategies for the AlphaTauri. Split strategies for the Red Bull as well. As for the Williams, I think both of them are starting on the hards. Yes, they are. Split strategies for the Haas, but both going aggressive on a medium and even a soft for JV8. iWatts going conservative on that hard tyre. Ondrechek then is lining it up on pole position, which is on the outside for turn 1. Not necessarily an advantage. We'll wait and see. Remember what happened here back in 2016 or 2017 with a Red Bull and 2 Ferrari? Might we have the same situation again? Who knows? Ondrechek, Djokovic is the battle we're looking for, and it is the battle for the championship as well. Everyone is lined up on the grid, and we are ready to go. We are waiting for the 5 red lights to come on for the Singapore Grand Prix. And it's lights out and stationary we are. There we go. And what on earth went on there? Hybrid is a AI determined car. What's gone on? Ondrechek has lost a lot of positions on the start. Hold on, I have no clue what's happened there. Hybrid's gonna jump start due to AI mode. That advantage will quickly be swallowed up. Ondrechek here has lost a lot of positions on the start. Down in P7 at the moment. Now trying to line up Wigan 71, maybe for a move down inside into the end of the first sector. Does make that work. Djokovic then in net lead of the race. Something's gone on for Hybrid. He's not even in the lobby. Which means if the situation persists, his race isn't going to count for anything. So it can count him out. He's a ghosted car. Everyone can just drive through him. Djokovic in P2, followed by No Larks in P3 and Squidge in P4. It's been a really weird start, this. Now, Ondrechek, with some racing to do, needs to get past these guys relatively quickly because Djokovic is going to be taken off ahead, and Djokovic needs to get a couple of results like this to build a little bit of an advantage to Ondrechek to end off the season. Djokovic in a splendid position to take his second championship in a row and third overall. Ondrechek might be the guy who's able to stop him. Nasi not racing next week either. Djokovic is coming up to the back of Hybrid then, has been able to shake No Larks. So this is where it gets interesting. Now it's all about how quickly is Ondrechek going to be able to clear these cars. He's already lost quite a bit of time to Djokovic, who's on a better tyre ahead of him. And Ondrechek now has to hope that the race is going to come a bit later. Djokovic has retaken the lead of the Grand Prix. Hybrid, if you do get back in, please drop I hate to say this, please then drop to the back of the field and start from there. So just ahead, just behind JV8, then as soon as you're behind you can start racing your way back up. I know it's an unfair situation and I don't know what went on, but it is the easiest way to deal with it, unfortunately. Actually, we can neutralize that situation quite well. You qualified in P9, up some positions. Then you drop down into P10, so behind Darren, Style, ahead of iWatts, and then you start racing your way back up. Apologies for that. So here we go, then No Larks going through the ghost of Hybrid 472. And Squidge is about to do the same. Where's Undertech? He's still behind Jamar. DRS will be enabled this lap, and Djokovic is at the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's building an advantage over the cars behind. So Undertech getting very close to the back of Jamar, and now the ghost of Hybrids getting a little bit in the way there. So here we go, still not able to make a move. Squidge, however, is trying to make a move on Nolox, and the two make contact. I don't quite know how, but making contact at the end of Sector 1. Heading into the sweeping left-hander in Squidge, now being taken by Wigan as well. Unable to get out ahead, and that's that's helped Undercheck quite a bit. Nolox now remaining in P2, 3.9 seconds behind Djokovic. Jamar now pushing for that position as well, and we'll see how long this situation persists. No Larks remaining in P2 for the time being. Jamar in P3, Undercheck in P4, followed by Hybrid now in P5. Count him out, so that's Wigan in P5. Weird situation all around this. Spenclose not being able to do much on his tyres here at the start. iWatts doing a lot more with his tyres on the start. They're same tyres as well. Gained 3 positions. Spenclose just been holding station in P10 at the moment, not getting a lot done. Oh, here we go. Undercheck right on the back of this. Why Jamar needs to get past, and he's going to be able to do so into turn 1. Jamar just has to see that position, and now Undercheck up at P3. Going to be attacking No Larks for P2. It's damage limitation at the moment for Undercheck. Djokovic is going to be happy with that for 5-second advantage. Here we go, Undercheck on No Larks. That overtake isn't going to be overly difficult for him. Goes past ahead of turn 5, and Undercheck now has regained most positions that he lost on lap 1. It's back up to P2. Now how is Squidge recovering? Doesn't seem to have any damage, thankfully. And Wigan now placing himself in an awkward situation to make contact. Wigan not with the best of rejoins there, and that. Has that caused a full car safety car? Yes, it has. Debris in the middle of Sector 2, everyone. There's a stationary Red Bull on track. And that is going to cause Djokovic all sorts of headaches. Because when he'd already finally been able to bridge a gap, as Squidge gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. As Djokovic had been able to build a gap up, now that gap is going to disappear completely. Undercheck is going to be able to regain what really should be his P2 slot. Very, very close to Djokovic. I have no clue what happened on lap 1, turn 1. Undercheck gaining, or losing, sorry, a lot of positions at that point. We'll wait and see. Hybrid's now been able to rejoin the lobby, if I'm not mistaken. Now on the safety car, this places us in a bit of an awkward situation, really. This race has now been neutralized. A Hybrid at the end of the safety car. Please drop right to the back of the field and then start making your way up again. It's a bit of an awkward situation in the race, unfortunately, so please just drop to the back and then you can start working your way back up. But a lot's happened over the last couple of laps. Don't know, can Hybrid actually let people go under the safety car? If anyone's warned for overtaking him, that's one thing, but if you could just drop to the back, that'd be ideal. As Hybrid has once again left the session, maybe connectivity issues affecting Hybrid relatively massively at the moment. Maybe a race result could be difficult for him. We'll wait and see if he can get back in. Interestingly enough then, Djokovic and Undercheck finding each other on track again. Djokovic in control of the race now on the medium tyres, whilst Undercheck is right behind on that hard. No Larks maintaining P3 for the time being over Jamar and Darren up in the P5. Wigan after contact with Squidge earlier on. They find each other right next to each other on track again. So we have little drips running out the back in P13. His teammates actually having a good, clean weekend at the moment in P8. Scoring a couple of points after starting last on the grid, the JV8. Little drips, promising in qualifying. Just shy of the top 10 in Q2, which would have seen him through into Q3. But it's JV8 who's having a better race at the 2 at the moment, up inside the points. With his position, we're seeing JV8 in more often than not, it feels like at the moment. Not more often than not, but JV8 starting to score a couple of points this season and is getting underway. It's lovely, lovely to see. JV8, one of the drivers that have been with us for a very, very long time now. Gonna be interested to see how many people will carry over onto the next game as well. Always an interesting and really scary part of running a league is the transition into a new game. So when everyone is lined up behind the safety car, are we going to see a race restart here on this lap then? Hopefully we do. I am hoping that we do. The safety car is coming in this lap then. Djokovic is going to be in control of the restart. Now going to have the chance to back up everyone to a massive degree. It's Djokovic hardly moving then as the safety car is running away a bit from him. He's in an advantage on that better tyre of an Undercheck at the moment. Slightly softer, slightly warmer. And this stint for Undercheck might just be about tyre preservation and hoping that that rain is going to come. But overtaking, as we saw between Undercheck and No Larks, non-impossibility here. Here we go then, Djokovic gets this race restarted. Doesn't really get away in the way that he'd want to. But he does maintain the lead comfortably. 0.7 of a second between Djokovic and Undercheck. Apart from that, everything looks relatively calm. A couple of people haven't made a pit stop. Watt, Squidge, Wigan and Little Drips. 4 cars then. Here we go, Jamar on the back of No Larks now, about half a second up. Darren with a massive disadvantage over Jamar, and now Spenclose is going to try going around his outside. Not really going to work, but is it? Because Darren just gets a bit drifty on the exit. Spenclose moves up into P5, and he's had a good couple of laps of Spenclose. Just gaining positions. The man who was forced into P10 at the start and couldn't really get out of it. Now, all the way up into P5 and having a decent one. Djokovic just pulling away from Undercheck that little bit. 2 have broken clear of No Larks as well, and it's a straight fight for the lead then. Djokovic and Ondřejek, not for the first time, won't be the last time this season. Matty MC16, half a second behind iWatts as well. We've seen those two do battle quite a couple of times in the league. But at the moment it's iWatts putting pressure on Darren, who's not having a good restart whatsoever at the moment. Losing positions. Oh, and his car's just looking twitchy. Darren, I don't reckon he's got a D. It was like this in qualifying as well. His car looks incredibly twitchy, even coming out of that last corner. Here we go, then iWatts down his inside. Oh, judging that to perfection that iWatts just covering off Darren Style. Hard but close. Or hard but fair, and that is Darren Style losing it coming out of turn 3. Any front wing damage? No, gets away with that. A bit lucky too. But the Red Bull of Darren Style is looking ever so hard to control. Squidge now down in last as well. Something's gone on with Squidge here on the safety car restart as well. Now forced into 13th. It's been a disastrous couple of laps for the Williams driver. He's not going to try to get past Darren Style. Last time he tried to get past the Red Bull, it didn't go so well for him. He's going to be wary of that and suffering a little bit of PTSD, I'm sure. But on this occasion, he's going to get it done round the outside and up to P12. So Wigan then chasing former teammate Matty MC. Matty losing a bit of time to iWatts there, almost 2 full seconds. So something's gone on there, I would imagine as well. As we have another safety car for some reason. Is that a Darren Style who's lost the front wing in the second sector? Yes, it is. Second safety car of this race, and now we're going to see people coming into the pit lane. Djokovic is staying out. Is Ondřejek going to come in? No, he's not. Jamar for sure is. Spankless staying out on that hard tire. Everyone starting on the hard tire is really forced into trying to make that work now. It's a long pit stop here, but lots of 5-second time penalties handed out for speeding in the pit lane. I think that was both Matty and maybe Hybrid getting those penalties issued. So we go a couple of people into the pit lane then. Squidge 2017 coming in as well. New front wing going on. The Williams Darren's having a difficult time as well then in that Red Bull. New tires, new front wing on and released in last. Djokovic and Ondřejek are going to have a chance to do yet another restart, and just as Djokovic was about to bridge that 1 second gap, yet another safety car. It's going to be increasingly frustrating for the Ferrari. Just having to deal with these. He wants to get on with this race without these sorts of interruptions, while I'm sure Ondřejek does not mind them at all. More safety cars we have, the more it does benefit everyone on that hard tyre. As I'm feeling the need to water down my throat a little bit, so you'll just be coming with me for the kitchen for a second. Ever lovely doing commentary when you realize you are running out of voice. As there we go then. Nothing's changed. Djokovic, Ondřejek, no Lark, Spen close up to P4. With iWatts having a good race up into P5, starting on the medium tires as well. He's actually switched on to that medium tire. He has done his mandatory pit stop, so technically you could, if we don't have enough safety car rain, iWatts has placed himself in a beautiful position here for, if it's hard to overtake, even a win. We'll wait and see. Those tires probably won't last till the end of the race, however, is the problem. So Djokovic and Ondřejek, no Larks will have to pit again. We know that for sure. So will no Larks Spen close. Everyone behind them has already made their mandatory pit stops. The top 4 at the moment not really in a great position. Lap 10 out of 31, further away through this Grand Prix. A lot of running under safety car so far. Not a lot of flow into this Grand Prix. We'll wait and see how it all ensues. Sonderchek's chasing Djokovic for the championship lead and the lead of the Grand Prix. No Larks is in P3, followed by Spenclose, Iwatts P4 and 5. The top 4 is yet to pit. Everyone behind them has pitted at least once. I believe Squidge has had to come into the pit lane twice even. So then, as to all of you watching as well, just a curious question. If you do have any suggestions for what you want to see for Season 8 of NEF1, then please let us know in the comment section down below, either here or on YouTube. Also feel free to DM me on Twitch or any of our social media platforms if you feel free. It's New Era Esports on all of them. Feel free to DM us on there if you have any suggestions for the upcoming season of NEF1. We'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. Because I'm sure we're lacking in certain departments and we would love to improve on them. So if you do have any ideas, please get them in. That goes to all the drivers as well. If you do have any suggestions or ideas for Season 8, then let us know. And just the fact that I'm saying Season 8 is mental. Still on the safety car, probably gonna come in at the end of this lap then. Could have really come in at the end of lap 10 really. Didn't have to stay out for yet another lap. But it is what it is. So then some stuff going on at the back. Squidge and Darren swapping positions for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, as I believe we're going to get the safety car in this lap message rather soon. And at that point, Djokovic is basically going to become stationary on track, backing up the field as much as he can, just allowing full control. There we go, lights are still flashing, but they're bound to stop flashing any moment now. As there we go, lights are off and the safety car is coming in this lap. Djokovic then assumes control of the field and now gonna get this race restarted in just a couple of minutes, or just a couple of moments. So here we go then. When is Djokovic going to decide to go? The safety car needs to be fully in the pit lane before Djokovic decides to pull the trigger on the restart. Ondrzejczyk is right on his back. There we get the race restarted, and Ondrzejczyk well and truly keeping up with Djokovic on this attempt. Not a good restart that really from Djokovic. And Squidge 2017 is disqualified from this session for ignoring a drive-through penalty. And that is disappointing stuff from the Williams driver. I believe he had a lap or two to serve him in between safety cars. Once you've done that, there's not a lot you can do. Oh, and that is tough luck for the Williams driver. Maybe just being caught out a little bit by how that system works. And now it's a one-horse race for Williams, but he's being put under pressure from Iwatts at the moment. It takes P3 away from him now. Spenclose is going to try to switch back him. But Iwatts maintains P3 after a brilliant bit of racing by the two. Ondrzejczyk well and truly on the back of Djokovic, and he has no intention of letting the Ferrari drift away from him on this occasion now. Lap 12 out of 31. Are we going to see any rain in this session? That is going to be a determining factor. We have a virtual safety car. Darren Stahl massively struggling. Why the fuck is he on intermediates? That is why he is on intermediates, because now, here we go, the rain is starting to come. Slight drizzles of rain then on lap 12 out of 31, and we will have a predominantly wet Singapore Grand Prix. Darren has retired from this session, maybe just crashing into a wall, failing to control those tyres. But Djokovic surely has got to take this opportunity to come in, even if he loses a bit of time on the... Yeah, everyone's coming in for Intis straight away under the VSC. Djokovic, 5-second time penalty. Now what has he done for speeding in the pit lane? You can't get that penalty under a virtual safety car, Djokovic. You just can't. Intermediate tyres going on, but Djokovic with an unforced error, and that could cost him dearly. That could really cost Djokovic dearly, because now in the rain it is going to be ever harder to overtake. But Ondřejek has now been put in a position where he doesn't have to. Oh, Djokovic, you just see these couple of mistakes creeping in this season. It was the same thing last week out in Japan, where he realistically had a chance to win that race. Just couldn't make the most of it. Jamar now, as Spenclaw gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car, and the weekend for Williams is going from bad to worse. As now, back to green flag racing conditions. Now, how is Jamar going to be able to cope with these slight damp conditions? Let me tell you that straight away. Djokovic is just eating time up. Actually, at the moment, it looks like the hard tyres are holding on. He's not really hammering it down with rain at the moment. And if the rain never gets any worse than this, might be in for an interesting one here. Because Djokovic is not gaining any time. Oh, this is interesting. Jamar's breaking away from Djokovic here through the second sector. Intriguing stuff. Has Jamar been the only one to actually keep his powder dry? Now the question is, does he keep his powder dry for yet another lap? Yes, he does. He's watching those. He's watching what's going on. But the question is, when is the track? DRS has been enabled by race control. Which means it's not wet enough to disable it quite yet. The danger is for Jamar now, if he stays out one lap too late, might well find himself into one of the lovely walls surrounding this Marina Bay circuit. Intriguing stuff this at the moment. Jamar, at the moment, very much in the lead of this Grand Prix. And my god, wouldn't he love a virtual safety car or a full safety car at the moment. And with the amount of people out there on potentially the wrong tyre, could be likely. iWatts just now then coming in for, is that a set of wet tyres? Yes it is, intermediate. I should specify, but Jamar still breaking away from Djokovic. That's on a set of hard tyres. Imagine he was on a soft or medium at this point, which just heats up that little bit better. And now if it doesn't start raining any more than it is at the moment, 15, 16 laps to go, Jamar well and truly in control of this race. Wow, how the turntables. Djokovic P2, Ondřejek P3, with Spenclaw in P4, with drive-through penalty, mind you, that he has to serve, and Wigan in P5. Just wow, really. I didn't expect that coming. I thought the rain was going to start hammering down quickly. Now that it started, it does look like it's coming down a bit more now. And now, might that have been the optimal time for Jamar to pit? He's still gaining time. Oh, but is the grip coming away? The track is now starting to look a bit wet, and now Djokovic might be starting to bring that gap down a little bit. Wait and see, but now it's starting to look ever slippery for Jamar. Should have probably pit this lap. Spenclaw into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty then. But still, as I'm saying this, no massive gains on the intermediate tires. 20-second advantage between Jamar and Djokovic. If Jamar comes in now, don't reckon he'll be able to keep the lead of the Grand Prix. However, he's definitely going to be coming out in P3. But the track is now starting to look a bit wet, and Djokovic, I don't know really. Hard to tell. The gap's about 21 seconds still, and it's staying like that. Wow, this is an interesting phase of the Grand Prix. This is a really, really interesting phase. I did not see this coming. Jamar taking a gamble, and at the moment that gamble seems to be paying off. It's looking wet through Sector 3, however. Is he coming in? Believe he might be. Yes, Jamar's coming into the pit lane then on lap 15 out of 31. Intermediate tires are going to go on. Now, where is he going to come out in regards to Djokovic and Undercheck? I would imagine behind, unfortunately. It would be brilliant seeing Jamar actually do an overcut on them. Medium tires going on. Here we go then. Now that's either ruined this race completely or made it. I would imagine it's ruined it completely. I do think the rain's here to stay now. No dry line really. Let's see even. Jamar on a set of medium tires. DRS has been disabled. Wrong call by Jamar, and now he is going to drop like an absolute stone, unfortunately. I wonder if he selected the wrong tires or if that was a strategic gamble by Jamar to make something of it. It's a weird gamble. Intermediates would have seen him up in a podium place at a track where it's hard to overtake in the rain. I don't understand that gamble from Jamar when everyone else is on the intermediates. Oh. Could have seen there's a chance to battle for the win here realistically, but I believe he might have just thrown that chance away. Now then, I would imagine Ondrzejczyk isn't going to be in too much of a rush to really try to get past Djokovic here. With the 5-second time penalty that Djokovic has, Ondrzejczyk, as long as he keeps doing this, is basically guaranteed a win after just sitting back and relaxing. And Jamar is now losing time, and he's losing Wigan time on that medium tyre. He needs to come in and get rid of that, which will see him drop at the very back of the field. And the stint on that medium tyre was short-lived, and how it could have been so promising for Jamar this race. Could have been a podium, and now it's going to be difficult for him to come back. Intermediate tyres needs to go on the Alpine, and he is going to drop behind about his teammate, I reckon, when coming out. As here we go, then is he going to be overtaken by his teammate? Yes, he is. As Hybrid's now coming into the pits. For a new front wing. Then I would imagine Wigan's quite enjoying life at the moment. Up in P3 in a podium place as well, which I believe would be his first podium of the season if it goes his way. Matt is chasing him down, but Wigan at the moment doing everything he has to. Ondrzejczyk now has dropped more than a second behind Djokovic. Is Djokovic just a bit better in these wet conditions? Wait and see. Has a lot of time to bring out a 5-second advantage, but bringing out a 5-second advantage over Ondrzejczyk might be a tough ask. But Djokovic is just running away a little bit, especially now that the DRS has been disabled. Djokovic is going to be kicking himself that he got that 5-second time penalty. He's going to be absolutely kicking himself because it was such an unforced error as well. No need to do it. Track conditions still deteriorating somewhat. And tell you what, if Djokovic opens up a gap at this rate that he currently is, he's still going to be able to bring this home. JMR freezing time penalty, multiple track limits in fractions. But Djokovic is breaking away from Ondřejk rapidly here. And we know that Djokovic is good in the wet. He's proven that many a time before. And now, this race, if he could get this win over Ondřejk, really would put a spanner in the work for Ondřejk's championship hopes. It remains to be seen what will go on here. 2.5 seconds now the gap. Was 1.3 about a lap ago. 1.1 a lap ago, sorry. So Djokovic at the moment having a good run over Ondřejk here. Lap 18 out of 31. And I don't think we're going to see too much side-by-side action for the remainder of this race. It's going to be a strategic one. It's going to be one of attrition. We're getting reports from Jamar as well that he selected the wrong tyres, and that is heartbreaking after maybe being in a position where he could have challenged Ondřejk and Djokovic realistically, or at least battled for a podium. Now, gonna struggle to get into the top 5 here realistically. Little Drips is having a brilliant race, mind you, in P5. That's impressive stuff from Little Drips on its return and into Haas. And as I'm saying that, heading into the pit lane is Little Drips. And why is the question. Intermediate tires, I would imagine then it's a new front wing going on the Haas. Doesn't look like it, it's just a new set of tires for Little Drips, and what's that all about? Unless his tires wear out that quick. JV8 has caused the safety car here. JV8 full cost safety car now. Oh, and Djokovic was just breaking away from Ondřejk a lot again, and Djokovic, he's having no luck with these safety cars at all. Just as he starts to break away, it's a full course safety car, and Ondřejk is just going to sneak up to the back of him again. Now, are these intermediates going to last in the race, is the question. Will they have to come in and switch them? Djokovic seeming the most comfortable. Ondřejk not really in these conditions. Still keeping well clear of Wigan, but failing to keep up to Djokovic ahead of him. Wigan, oh no, it's a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, and that has ruined any chance he had of securing a podium here in Singapore. And that seems to be something that's more and more recurring in NEF1. People getting drive-throughs for speeding under the safety car, and I'm not quite sure why, because there's nothing really to gain from doing it. Djokovic and Ondřejk coming in then. Djokovic is going to be held in the pit lane, which means Ondřejk will take the lead of the Grand Prix here. Ondřejk takes the lead of the Grand Prix on track. Wigan and Matty staying out, which I would imagine is going to help Djokovic out quite a bit. But both of them on fresh intermediates then, to go to the end of the race. And Djokovic, crucially for him, he's lost track position to Ondřejk, but now he can race without that 5-second time penalty holding him back. And I do feel for Djokovic for the safety car, because it was building up to be a really good stint for him, and he has had this race constantly ruined by these types of safety cars as well. As Noah Lars gets a 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane line on the exit. It's the first time in a long time we've seen that. Maybe ever since we ran Singapore last time, because it's one of the tracks where it's quite easy to do that. Just overcooking it a little bit into the braking zone and going wide. And now then, Wigan's going to be controlling the pace on this safety car restart as well. Won't be able to serve that time penalty under the safety car, has to serve it as the safety car's coming in. And I have no clue how hard overtaking is around this track, but if it's difficult, Matty is actually in a good position to maybe even win this race now. In P2, provisionally P1, Wigan, you're not going to be able to serve that penalty in the pits under the safety car, just so you know, so you'll be demoting yourself further back still. New tyres going on anyways. As he gets a tank slap run coming out of the pit lane, and he's lucky to not lose a bit of front wing there, which would have been disastrous. So then, Matty's controlling the pace on the restart, Ondercheck and Jokovic in P2 and P3. Matty with a bit more routine than Wigan in these situations, leading the field away under a safety car restart. Matty? Oh, do we fancy a Matty MC16 win here for the first time this season? 8-lap-old Inters, those aren't old by any stretch. And the Inters don't wear out too quickly. 10 laps to go. Could he carry those to the end of the Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. Feels still relatively spread out. JV8 half a minute still behind. iWatts is a couple of seconds behind. We have Hybrid behind J. Hybrid is not having a brilliant weekend so far. So 10 laps to go and turning into a bit of a weird one now. Hopefully we run uninterrupted. Obviously Matty would love for another safety car straight at the back of this one. Maybe one following that. The safety car is still out then. So both the Haas inside the points here. Little Drip's actually scoring really decent points up at P6. Having a good race. Scott Spenclose, Wigan, iWatts and Jay behind him. Wigan with drive-through penalty will be out of contention once he's that, unfortunately. Jamar and Nolarks with time penalties as well. So Jay's now starting to catch the back of the safety car queue, 17 seconds to go. Question is, are we going racing at the end of this lap? Really should be, regardless of if the grid is formed up or not. It's been a long safety car now. Something that wasn't massive. No massive incident so far this week. So here we go, when the safety car is coming in this lap. Matty's going to take control of the pace. And we're going to get this race restarted in just a moment's time. Matty, Ondrejek and Djokovic then. It's a safety car restart in the rain, which is not the easiest thing to pull off. Need to get the throttle down decisively, but trying to surprise everyone, which not really what Matty's been able to do here, because Ondrejek is right on his back and he might just be able to get him heading into turn 1. He is on his inside, outbraking Matty. Matty with a horrible safety car restart there. Wasn't able to maintain the lead of the Grand Prix, and Ondrejek has gone straight past him. Now Djokovic needs to get straight past Matty as well if he wants to compete for this win. Remember, Djokovic is more comfortable in these conditions than Ondrejek by the look of things, but needs to get past quickly, and he might well do so on the first possible occasion. Matty not comfortable in these conditions whatsoever. Djokovic once again straight past Matty MC, and it's not been a good opening lap for Matty. Down 2 positions, but now battling for the podium. Which is still higher than what where he thought he would have been at the beginning of this race. As for Wigan 71, got a couple of laps now, maybe 1 or 2 to serve that drive-through penalty. Now we're going to be looking at this gap: Djokovic versus Ondrejek, 1.2 seconds. Need to catch up and pass though with less than 10 laps to go. Oh, as Matty's falling down the order, Nolark's now past him. Now is Matty just going to hold up little drips a little bit? Try to allow Nolarks to avoid that 5-second time penalty. Nice, just struggling. Little drips, not far away from Matty. Launches one down the inside. Matty, is that the deficit of just having worn tyres? Spenclose goes past Matty. Matty is having an awful restart. Jesus Christ, down 6 positions in 1 lap just from having slightly more worn tyres. Wigan now on the back of Matty MC. Jesus, and I couldn't even imagine that the deficit was that big, but Matty MC almost would have had to come in order to maybe have a decent result here, because he's just falling back. Wigan coming in to serve a drive-through penalty, then Djokovic is getting closer to Ondrejek. This is going to be really interesting. This is going to be really interesting. Djokovic seeming like he can just get the power down a little bit earlier than Ondrejek, but it's going to be hard for him to find a way past. That's the thing. Needs to put Ondrejek under so much pressure that he makes a mistake almost. Battle for the win is on. And Spenclose at the moment riding in a podium position as well. Little drips, not in a bad position either. P6 will change after penalties are applied. Hybrids retired from the session. That is yet another safety car. For crying out loud. Yet another safety car here. Hybrid is out of this race after contact with a wall, I would imagine. Oh, in goodness sake. And Wigan gets another drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car and is going from bad to worse. Is going from bad to worse. No one's going to be able to get the fastest lap point now that hasn't already got it, so that's a point secured. Ondrejek now needs to nail this restart. Djokovic is going to be straight on him. But this is also, once again, played in Ondrejek's favours. Less laps for Djokovic to try to pull a move off. Swiggin gets another drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. No, Lars is coming into the pit lane, and I'd like to point out something that was mentioned in chat a long time ago now. And that is JV8 saying Little Drip's podium and has debut, and we're not a million miles away from that being an possibility. Little Drip's at the moment up in P5, with Jamar having a time penalty as well. Not too many racing laps to go. It's not an impossibility. Down up in P5, could be P4, could be P3 if it gets past Spenclose. Djokovic and Ondřejček are going to be going at it hard on this restart as well. Djokovic is going to be absolutely sending it, but still can't afford to make a mistake. If he does drop out of the points for some reason, or drop into the low points, we may have Ondřejček in the lead of the championship after this race. So Djokovic needs to play the balance of attacking Ondřejček whilst not suffering any type of damage whatsoever here. And wow, what a race we are having at the moment. A lot of safety cars, a lot of, I'm sure, controversy according to some people. It's a really weird one. Ondřejček at the moment in control, followed by Djokovic and Jamar. Spenclose and Little Drips in P5 and his return to NEF1 after a week or two hiatus. Wigan 71 in P6, followed by No Lux in P7. I was in P8, Jay in P9, and Matty in P10. Very thought it was going to be. Did not have a good safety car restart, did Matty. So then Jamar, even though he had that massive mistake of the game selecting the wrong tyre for him, is up in a P3 with a 3-second time penalty, but still going to score some very decent points if he can pull this off. This race really has gone in Jamar's favour as well. Ondřejček, Djokovic still going to battle this one out. Djokovic looks like he's a bit more comfortable in these conditions, but Ondřejček crucially has the track position. And it's a good thing, tell you what, that Djokovic got rid of that 5-second time penalty with a pit stop, because that could have seen him down a lot of positions had he not done that with these safety cars. As the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Now, Matty struggled with his safety car restart. Ondřejček needs to nail this one, or he's going to be in big troubles. Djokovic, comfortable in these conditions. And he is letting Ondřejček know that as well, following him very closely behind. Just needs to stay clear of the back of that Mercedes. The safety car is now coming into the pit lane. Now Ondřejček has a choice, so whenever he wants to restart it, there we go. And he's got a slight jump, but Djokovic is still very much there. And the race is restarted here. Lap 26, but it's a massive... Oh, could have been race ending that from Djokovic. But he just managed to catch it, overcooking it a little bit coming out of the final corner. which is going to give him something to think about, but he's got 4 laps to stay with Undercheck and get past him. Here we go. Apart from that, not a lot going on. Little Drips staying up in P5, not really being challenged by No Lark. Seemingly liking these conditions, does Little Drips. Spenclose up in P4 as well. Jamar in P3, not really being able to build a gap. Djokovic maintaining the gap to Undercheck, but that needs to be decreasing in order for him to be able to make a move in somewhere. Undercheck looking more comfortable on this go, and Djokovic is just starting to maybe over push the car a little bit. Oh, Spenclose struggling in these conditions, and is that Spenclose into the wall? Yes it is, and that is No Larks up to P4. Spenclose just gonna try to defend that round the outside, not really gonna work. No Larks is still there, Little Drips down to P6. No Larks up a position maybe to Spenclose, gonna have the inside for the next corner, and that should be move over and done. Spenclose might try to come back at him, but not on this attempt. No Larks takes P4 away, but now Jamar is running away with P3 for the time being as well. And Little Drips is dropping positions, P6, and now with Iwatts close behind him. Wiggins coming into the first of 2 drive-through penalties, so he is well and truly out of contention here. We're not going to have another safety car now. Lap 28 out of 31. Little Drips with a 3-second time for multiple track limit warnings, and that is going to ruin his chance of a really, really good result here, especially with the safety car coming in. But it's going to be a double points finish for Haas if they still just keep at this. Djokovic now 1 second to Undercheck, and the restart hasn't gone the way that Djokovic would have been hoping for. It started out good, it went poorly around the final corner, and now it's just not the way he would have wanted this race to restart, and he just can't seem to get the foot down as he could earlier. Might just be an idea to try to bring this home, but I do feel for Djokovic. He's gone royally screwed time and time again by the safety cars in a race where honestly he's looked better than Undercheck throughout. But it doesn't matter if you can't get the result in, and Djokovic with that unforced error, it has cost him the race unfortunately. Unforced error heading into the pit lane just a couple of miles an hour too quickly probably, and that did hand him a 5-second time penalty by these stewards. Now then, Iwatts right on back of Little Drips that makes contact with the wall, and that sends Iwatts into the back of him as well. Matty up at the P6. That is just unfortunate. Iwatts riding very, very close to the back of Little Drips, and Little Drips now is going to fall a lot of positions here right on this restart. Would have won the race end on the safety car, I'm sure, because he's not gone the way he would have been hoping for. Does he have front wing damage even? Yes, he does. Had to peer off into the pit lane, and that is probably him finishing in P9. With the possibility of P5 just a couple of laps ago. Unfortunate for Little Drips, but it's still been a very, very good race from the Scotsman. Djokovic now falling back on Undercheck, 2.7 seconds the gap. Undercheck just clearing Djokovic here in the second stint. Three laps to go, 2.5. As No Larks is trying to get past the Alpine of Espelway, Jamar and these two have had their controversies over the course of the season, but No Larks is able to clear. Jamar and is now up into the podium slot. Spenclose would do anything to get on that podium, I'm sure. At the moment he's doing everything he can to put Jamar under pressure. Needs to clear the Alpine before he can have No Larks. As the rain, I would like to point out, has stopped in its entirety. No one opting for a set of softs yet. But the dry line is beginning to form. But obviously just 2-3 laps to go, there's no real point in doing so. Oh, Spenclose is side by side with Jamar heading into the last couple of proper corners. The last braking zone as the two make contact still. As Jamar just leaves, Jamar on the exit doesn't leave Spenclose a lot. That is going to send Jamar down to the very back of the field. It's going to be looked at after the race, that incident. Got a brilliant POV of it as well. That is unfortunate with, as a fall by Jamar and Spenclose, and I'm sure will be investigated from both parties after the race. No Locks and Matty, P3, P4. That is a good result for AlphaTauri, that, with Spenclose in P5. Jamar now, is he going to gamble it on a set of soft tires? Maybe try for the fastest lap. The track clears up that quickly. We'll have having a go if nothing else. Sven JV8, 1.1 seconds behind iWatts at the moment, having a very good race up to P7. 1.8, it's dropping relatively quickly. iWatts comfortable in P6. Believe we're looking at the finishing order of this Grand Prix. A lap and a half to go here in Singapore, and Undercheck is absolutely clear. Djokovic, there is a 5-second gap now almost, as Djokovic has had a moment, and that has allowed No Locks to get up into P2. And that could be huge for the championship. Djokovic, you just needed to bring this one home, but you're losing points at the moment. And Matty is now there as well, and he's going to fancy a podium. There's a lap to go. Oh, it's not over yet. Matty rapidly approaching Djokovic now. One lap where Djokovic needs to stay clear of the track limits and need to keep Matty behind him, but Djokovic looks shaken here. Matty looks stronger heading into Sector 1. And now maybe the one overtaking zone as Djokovic goes wide, and he's going to make this real easy for Matty. Djokovic off the podium for the second week in a row in the last couple of laps, and this has handed the championship initiative straight to Undercheck. What is going on for Djokovic towards the end of these races? The Asian Tour has not been kind on him whatsoever, and Undercheck is going to take a comfortable win here in Singapore over No Larks and Matt. It's a double AlphaTauri podium at the moment. And Spenclose looks like he might have his way with Djokovic as well, and he will. Has the inside towards the next corner. Djokovic is just going to be able to hold on, but he goes wide, and that's him down another position. Djokovic is getting it all sorts of wrong here, down in P5. What is going on for the championship leader? What is going on? DRS has been re-enabled on this lap. Jamar might have a go at the fastest lap, but I do think the track is just a bit too damp for it, unfortunately. But it's an heroic effort nevertheless. He's not going to be able to do it on this lap, Jamar. A bit too far back. But this is going to be music to Undercheck's ears, because he is now well and truly close to the championship lead, coming across the line for his, I believe it's 7 wins in a row for Undercheck. It is yet another NEF1 record. No Larks takes his best result of the season, a P2, with his teammate coming across in P3, Spenclose in P4. Djokovic lost it all in the last 3-4 laps, and that is him, P5 for Djokovic. For some reason retiring there at the end, but it was recorded P5. iWatts taking P6 there at the end. Decent result from him. Lil Drips with a double points finish for Haas if he just carries this through. Is going to carry it home ahead of JV8. I think those two switched there right at the end. Jay going for the gamble on the softs there for some reason. Lil Drips goes ahead of JV8 for P7. JV8 is P8 then, followed by Jamar in P9 and Wigan in P10. But that is an ending to the race that is going to cause massive upsets in the championship, and it's handed all the initiative in the championship to Undercheck, who now has to be considered the clear favourite for the Season 7 championship as well. Undercheck with a massive performance here in Singapore, and could this be the day when we're saying that Djokovic lost the championship in Season 7. It might well be. It's 2 bad weekends in a row for the reigning NEF1 champion. It's 7 good weekends in a row for the championship, hoping to be under check 51. Worth pointing out as well, it's a massive double podium for AlphaTauri Bat in their battle with Williams in the Constructors. It's going to do a lot for Nolarks and Matty's confidence as well, heading into the American Tour of the season that we are just about to commence on. But then it's a familiar side at the top step of the podium. Under check 51, yet another victory, and the man is just inevitable. Could he win every single race remaining this season? I would not put it past him. The way he's driving is just comfortable. Low risk, high reward, really, from Undercheck. It just keeps coming to him. As we can see there, Djokovic should be up in P5. That is where we're going to put him manually in the race results. Gets the fastest lap point as well. But it's a difficult weekend for Djokovic anyways. Looking comfortable early on, but everything changed for him. Nolarks takes P2 away from Djokovic, Matty P3, and Sven close up to P4 with Djokovic in P5. I was in P6, followed by Drips in P7 and JV8 in P8. Best weekend for the Haas team this season, followed by Jamer in P9 and Wigan in in P10. So then, that is a race and a half for you, and we are just getting underway with the dying stages of this season as well. The American Tour is about to begin with Texas, COTA, on the 6th of May for the first United States Grand Prix of the season, the first out of 2, because we got Brazil coming up for round 15 and Vegas coming up for round 16. 3 sprint races in a row. A lot of points will be on offer, so don't miss out on that. We will be back in 1 week's time when NEF1 returns. Congratulations to Undercheck once again, Nolarks and Matty on their double podium. We'll see you in a week's time. Have a good one, stay safe, and peace out.